Hello friends, this is Nilatri Mohapatra once again, and today we'll talk about how we can handle the impediments or the blockers you face within your sprint durations in Jira. So there are instances when you face blockers or your task or your stories get blocked by certain reasons and you need them to be show within your board. So we will see how we can make them visible within our board. So there are three ways of doing it: by a workflow state, by using labels, by using custom fields. There may be other ways. So those are the three ways I will be explaining how we can configure within Jira one by one. So the first, we'll talk about the workflow state. Let's begin and jump into Jira. So here you can see this is our Jira current backlog. We'll see how our board is as of now looks like. So this is our task board. We'll look into both the board, our task board and our storyboard. So if you look into our storyboard, it looks like this. If you already have not watched the configuration of storyboard or task board within Jira, there is another video in the YouTube channel. You can go there and have a look into it. So let's see how we can mark our story as blocked by using a state. So as of now, this is the workflow you are seeing, and if you actually go into the board, I can click on board and configure. You can also have the three dots here if you are working on a cloud version, and you can see board settings icon there. You can go from there also. So if you go into the board, these are the board settings what we have. These are the different columns and different status. What we need to do is we need to create one more states that's called blocked or impediments, and we'll be having columns for those blocked states to manage into. So let's go into the workflow and see how that looks like. So I am here in project settings, and if I click on workflow, I can see I have configured the entire workflow into I have created actually three different workflow, where one workflow is handling all the stories, another workflow is handling the bugs and epics, another workflow is handling task and subtask. So we'll be working on these two workflow. For the storyboard, we'll be make some changes on this workflow because this workflow is handling the stories, and the task workflow, those are handling the task and subtask. We'll look into that. So to make a change on, let's start working on the story workflow. This is a custom workflow I have created, and over here I will be editing this particular workflow by click on this edit icon. Right, so here I can see this is the workflow that we had configured. What I will be doing is I will be creating one more states here that's called blocked, add, and I will be saying the state is blocked. And here I used to select in progress because normally we mark the stories blocked if it is in progress. If it is already done or in to do, we don't realize that we need to mark the story as blocked. Okay. So this blocked state can come from any state, and from here it can go to any other state also. And I will be publishing this, and let's go back to our board. I don't need a backup copy. Okay, so I have changed this particular workflow, and we'll go back to board and see how that looks like now. So here as of now, before refreshing, you can see these are the unused state. If I refresh it now, I can see there is a blocked states. Now it's appearing. I'll create one column called blocked, and I will try to keep this at the beginning and map this column with the blocked states. Now I'll go back to the board. Now I can see there is one columns here that is says block. Okay, so we already created this blocked state. Now we need some transitions from different. Here I need to map a transitions from different states to block. So this is how I have mapped that any story can be blocked from these in progress states to blocked. So that way I can mark a story as blocked, and similarly I will show you if a story gets unblocked, how that can be reversed back to their different state. Now this is you have already mapped. We need to publish it. I don't need a backup of this. I said published. This workflow is now published. I will go back to my board and click on refresh and try to make some stories as blocked. So once I will select that, this task I can move into, this is actually story, I can move into a block. That way you can actually identify what are the block stories currently we have within your task board. So similarly, if this story is also blocked, you can mark it as blocked. So see, this I cannot move it to blocked as of now because this story is currently in to do and it's not yet started. So you can make your workflow based on, if you think that your story you need to mark from to do states also, you need to just configure here that as of now, if you see, this blocked is actually can be moved from these many states, and this is something administrative work. So if you don't have the administrative rights, you can check the different ways that I'll be doing on the next state, or you can talk with your administrator to get it done. So here if you move one transition from to do to blocked, then you will be able to move your stories from to do to blocked also. So to move a stories from blocked, for this one, for an example, you cannot move it right now, but if you move it to, for an example, analysis, there was a in transition screen I had. So by saying okay to do to analysis, and from now you can actually move it to blocked, and in this way you can actually see how many stories are blocked. By doing this way, at the time when the stories is blocked, you actually not able to identify at what state it was blocked. I don't suggest to follow this workflow, but I saw many practices they used to have a blocked state because of they have some reporting and to have the streamline of the existing organizational standard, they used to work in this way. There are few other changes also you can do on a transition side. For an example, let me show you. This is your all the transitions. If you select any transitions, there are a couple of options you can still do. You can set some properties, you can trigger some events, you can give some conditions or some validators and post functions also. So these are the post functions you have. Set the issue state to the linked states of the designation workflow steps and add comments to the issue. So you can actually add different post functions here, so that will trigger your change once it is blocked, right? So now if you want, once your blocker is removed, if you want to move it back from blocked, you will not be able to put it anywhere, and that is the reason behind that is when we designed our workflow, we have not made the transitions to go back to their original state. So what we can do over here is we will be actually add some transitions to move it back to our different in progress state, and I will be giving unblocked. And the same fashion I will be moving those transitions from this state to the original state or the other in progress state, like this. Yes, so now I have mapped that, and we'll see are we in a positions to move them back to their original state. I will come to my board and refresh, and if I pick it now I will be able to move it to different state. So that's what I have mapped. So I hope this was give you an idea how you can mark your story as blocked in different state. Now what I will be doing is the next step we'll talk about how we can manage our blocked story within Jira if we don't have admin rights. So if and we want to mark the story blocked and have it visible within their Scrum board if it is blocked. So let's see how we can do it. So these are the different stories currently we have, and within the stories we can see there is something called label. So we need to make standards to ask the entire team or the entire organization to use the word blocked as a label in our for every story or every task. And this one is also we have, and we can mark it as, for an example, there are two stories. I am marking it as blocked. But how do we get to know this story is actually blocked? For this example purpose, what I will be doing is I removing this blocked state from here, because I don't need this block state if I am managing through labels. So let me just remove it quickly. Right. So there are two stories that currently blocked. I have marked as blocked, but I am not able to see, or it's not highlighted how these stories are blocked. So what I'll be doing, I'll configure my board and change the color, card color, based on a jQuery that I will be saying if labels in blocked mark is at red. Okay, now I'll go back to board. So you can actually see this particular stories is highlighted in red. Any stories you see there is blocked, you can actually say this is blocked, and that will turn red. So based on your color configuration you can actually give, and that's actually tell you that okay, this story is blocked at test in progress, this story is blocked at analysis in progress. So similarly if you are working on a task board, you can create additional columns for blocked that we talked on the earlier discussion. Over here also you can define that blocked state by using a label. If I am saying blocked here, blocked, and I am saying okay, this particular task is blocked under this story, and we will be configuring the same color combination here, card colors, by queries and labels in blocked. We'll close the border bracket and we'll go back to board, and I can see this particular task is red, means that is blocked. And similarly over here, unlike other ALM tools, Jira by default doesn't support field called blocked, where you can actually add a blocked reason or add a blocked date. But you can actually practice, like if you are marking a story as blocked, add a comment here that this story is blocked or this task is blocked because of this reason. So in that way you can actually block your story or task and have it visible within your Scrum board and manage it that way. The next options, what we can try, the next way of marking a story as blocked, we'll do it by making a custom field. So let's see how we can do that. So this is the admin section. Once again, the custom field, if you want to create, your administrator can help you out to create it. I'll be going to the custom fields and see whether that custom field is already available or not. If not, then probably I will add a custom field, and that will be, for an example, a drop down list, and we'll go next. And over here I can give the state blocked state, the description mark the blocked blocked state, and options I can say blocked, and I'll just leave it blank for 1 or just a space. Must have a name, so I will just give it a blank. So these are 2 areas, 2 options that it will be having. So let's create this field. Yeah, we'll do the reindex later, and let's see how we can associate with this particular field with our screen. So here these are the different screen where do you want to see. So by default I can say the workflow screen, resolve issue screen, add a scrum bug screen, default issue screen, and default screen. So let's make this enable for those particular screens. I'll mark it as update. Now our block state is ready. Let's see how we can mark that particular story or task as blocked. Okay, so if this is your screen where you are actually editing a stories, by default that blocked state that we have created is not visible. I'll say okay, add a field as administrator on this particular screen, and I will say blocked state and add field. And when I will be adding field, I will be saying okay. And why this is happening, why this state or field is not coming by default, because there were few stories already there when the field was not there. So in the database it's marked as null value, and in the screen it's not able to show you with a null value, because whether it has to be a dash or it has to be blocked as a value. So that's why it was not showing. But if you are configuring it, make sure you are creating it from the very beginning. For an example, if you create a new story now, that will visible by default, and you can see here that blocked state is here, so you can add it. Okay, so I'm not creating this task as of now. There is another way you can have it visible on your board. So here this is the area, the default fields comes on your right hand side, that you can actually configure from your issue detail view, and where you can say okay, this issue blocked state I also wants to be visible on my board area, and this is actually general field, this the board fields. So let's go back to the board and see if it is visible. We have worked for this one, and the blocked state it will be showing here. This is the block state is by default blank. If you click it, it's none. If you mark it as blocked, that means you are marking this story as blocked. And again, you can actually have color setting based on this query if the state is blocked. So if I go to the card colors and I say okay, let's make a query, instead of using this label, if I say blocked state is equal to blocked, then mark it as red. Okay, I'll say add and go back to board. So now this is currently showing you as red because the blocked state is blocked. If I select any other story, you can actually change it to blocked. Now that way you can actually get a feel what are the stories are blocked, and you can use this field to have different reports or any other thing. And over here there are one options you have in a configure board that it says what are the fields you want to show, the card layout. So I actually had these many options, the story points and everything. And you can actually add max of 3 additional field within your card. So I have added this blocked state, and we'll see if that blocked state is visible in our board. So wherever it is blocked, it's showing it as blocked in the red. This is blocked. Now the another field you can actually create to associate with this blocked is what is the blocked region. Means if you are marking it as blocked, you need to give a blocked region. So instead of showing it here as blocked, because if you know if it is red, that means it is blocked, but what is the blocked region you can actually mention. So what I'll be doing is I'll be creating another field called blocked region. So over here I'll add a custom field, and this time I will give it as a standard field as a text box, free text field, and I'll say blocked blocked region. There is no default value. I'll create this reindex, I'll do it later, and I'll associate this field with all those screen, and I'll go back, and over here I'll instead of going in the screen side, I'll be just configure this issue detail view by adding the block region, and that block region will be just under the blocked state, and we'll go back to board. So if this is a story that is blocked, the blocked region, for an example, this is development in progress, I am saying okay, database server down, and to highlight it from the other information, I will give it some information like this, so that when this particular description will be visible here, you can actually see it in the card. Okay, now I have added the block region, and instead of showing the block state here, I will be configure it on the card layout, and I don't need the block state, but definitely I need the blocked region why it is blocked, and back to board. So here you can actually see this blocked region, whatever is blocked, you can see none means it's not blocked, the blocked region is none, but if it is blocked, you can actually see this story is currently blocked, but you can give it a reason. Analysis is requirement needs more clarification. You can give any information or any reason that is actually blocking your story. So that way you can actually have your stories blocked and with a block reason within a story card. So as of now here you have too many of these reason, too many of these columns, that's why you are not able to see it in one go, but you can have the tooltip text to see what exactly the blocked reason is. And this particular board is for your product owner or senior management, where they see on the story level. Once when you are working on your task card level, you mainly have these three columns where you can actually configure again on your issue details view to have the block reason added and the block state added. And back to board, if you are marking any particular task as blocked, I'm giving it as this is a testing, so need access to test environment, that's my blocked reason, and I'm marking it as blocked. So this particular task I have blocked. Again this if I configure it on the color, you can see this is the color is showing, just you need to add the block reason here, why exactly it is blocked. So I'll again change in my board configuration, and in the card layout I can add blocked reason. Now you can see this is blocked and it's saying what exactly the blocked reason is, and that way you can actually configure your blocked states and have it visible within your board. Yeah, I hope that explains three different ways to manage and handle your blocked states or impediment states within Jira. You can configure it in more details by making triggers on the change of transitions. If possible, you can actually create triggers to update another fields when I am marking these particular stories state to block state to block to update the reasons or pop up message to ask what exactly the reason is, and remove that reason when this goes unblocked. There are many ways of doing it, so this is a simple ways you can actually work and manage your impediments within Jira. Thank you all for watching, and if there is any other videos or links that I have talked about, I will be attach them on the description. You can browse through the description of this particular video in YouTube and see what are the different links or videos I have referred to. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on your next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks. Bye bye. See you on the next video.